Hi, my name's Patrick Perrone. I'm the CTO at Arke, and I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to review some of the really great tools that Contentstack offers publishers and developers for managing their content. So to get started, let's just review how we fetch content from Contentstack. On the left here, we have a running web application. On the right, we have a stack. This is where all of your content will be housed logically within Contentstack itself. When we make a request, it's locked down by credentials, and then Contentstack, the stack, will respond with JSON information back to your web application. So that's really the basics of how your web application fetches content from Contentstack. Now let's talk about those credentials. It's really composed of a couple of pieces, and it's done through something known as a delivery token. This delivery token, when you create it, creates not just a unique ID associated with that token, but there's also a stack key that's used to identify the stack. So you get both by creating the delivery token, and you can have many delivery tokens. The stack key will not change. It's unique per stack. So what do we have to offer Contentstack when we create that delivery token? Well, it's really a couple of things. It's a branch or something known as an alias, which we'll come back to. And it's also this other piece called a publishing environment. So those are the two critical pieces of information we must give Contentstack so that it can uniquely identify accessing that type of content. Now, why is that? Well, to understand that, we need to talk about publishing, and then we'll talk about branching. So when we publish something in Contentstack, we're taking one or more content entries or assets, and we're creating a new version or maybe even an existing version, and then we're publishing it to a particular environment. Now, an environment in Contentstack is really just a logical notion. It's not actually an environment that Contentstack itself is creating, but it's like a label against that particular version that Contentstack has, and it just keeps track of, all right, version 3 in our example is now available to the QA environment. So this only affects content entries and assets, and then for convenience sake, if you're a publisher, we can also set up rules and workflows that help dictate when and by whom an item or an asset is published to a given environment. So that's the basics of publishing. For branching is a notion that's really going to be familiar to devs. And the idea here is within the stack, you can have at least one branch known as the main branch, as well as additional branches. And you could have multiple branches. The idea of this is it gives a place for a developer or perhaps a publisher, someone who's a power user of Contentstack, to try out content modeling or major breaking changes to existing models. So it's like a safe space where we can experiment against a copy of the main branch itself without worrying about interrupting the running site. When you make a branch, it's going to make a copy then of all the versions and all the models, content types, and content entries related to those content types, as well as assets. You get all of that within your new branch. Finally, what about an alias? How is that useful? Well, an alias is a way of us interacting with branches without having to make code changes. So remember that delivery token we talked about earlier, right? When we make a request to Contentstack, it uses a credential. That credential is associated with a delivery token and a stack key. You create the delivery token by targeting against a branch and a publishing environment. So let's take the case where the development team has made a lot of changes, breaking changes to the main branch around content models, and they want to roll that out to production. Well, we could give ourselves an easy backup by creating a backup branch, creating an alias that currently points to prod, and then we're going to make a delivery token using that alias. So now we have to make a code deployment, right? The code out on the running web application has to know about this delivery token, has to know about these key credentials. So that's fine. We have that with a alias now. So if we were to introduce a breaking change by rolling out this new version of the main branch, no problem. We can quickly back up to our backup branch by simply changing in Contentstack our alias from pointing at the main branch to the backup branch. We didn't have to go change our delivery token. We didn't have to go make a code update, right? It's just a quick operation within Contentstack itself. So aliases can be very useful for switching between branches without having to make a code deployment. So this is a quick video. I hope it helps illuminate some of the use cases around publishing versus branching and how aliases and delivery tokens play a role in all of that. Thanks. I'll catch you in the next chat.